Good day, gentlemen. Dirk here with the MGTOW solution. As a new creator on YouTube, I'm a very small fish in a very big pond, but I want to provide my perspective anyway because I do have an audience, however small. We'll see how things pan out over time. My Valentine's Day video was fairly popular, and it got shared on other MGTOW channels. On one of them, it actually got over 11,000 views, which for a newbie like me is pretty good. That one even got some positive comments from women, believe it or not. At least some women, it appears, still have a sense of humor. Maybe there is hope for the world. As one of those guys that was basically MGTOW before I ever heard of MGTOW, I may have some different ideas than men who discovered the philosophy and then chose to adopt it. Then again, we all have different ideas anyway, and one of our brothers recently made the observation that there are really just 3 things that are considered required of MGTOW. Don't get married, don't cohabitate, and don't get a woman pregnant. I pointed out the first 2 in the book, but it didn't occur to me at the time to include the third because I considered that one a given. But yeah, even though it goes without saying, I'll say it for clarity. Don't get a woman pregnant. Learn about sperm jacking tactics and protect yourself. Anyway, beyond those rules, MGTOW is whatever you make of it, which leaves a lot of room for individual men to decide how to live. And the ideas I get from watching the other guys' videos aren't always things I'm going to adopt. But I know that info may be just what the doctor ordered for some other guys, so the way I see it, the diversity of views is beneficial to our community. There are a lot of ways to go about things. Take what is useful, discard the rest. Initially, I didn't have any expectations for my channel. Truth be told, I had a couple of surgeries a while back and needed a project while I recovered so I wouldn't die of boredom. So I decided to put the book in audio format on YouTube. I figured at that point I would have made my contribution and would just go back to my regular life. And I didn't figure anyone would really give a shit what I had to say anyway, so that'd be the end of it. Hell, I didn't even think anyone would find my videos. But you have, and I appreciate you taking the time to check them out. Obviously, there are a lot of men going their own way, and we're growing every day, which is a good thing. The thing is, now that I'm spending time on my own channel, I can't keep up with all the other great stuff coming out. But that's a good thing too, because I'm adding one more unique voice to the community. I've been through more than my share of shit due to feminist influence, and even if I only get through to a handful of guys, at least I know I've provided my perspective. Meanwhile, I'm also spreading the word outside of the online MGTOW community, although my approach is rather subtle. For example, in talking with some of my guys at work about my plans to hit the road to travel, the response is usually along the lines of, "That sounds fucking awesome." To which I reply, "Yep, it's great not being married, so I can do shit like that." Or if a guy is bitching about his wife for some reason, I'll say, "Yeah, I went through the same thing, and that's why I don't do it anymore." One time I walked into a conversation about gay marriage, so I stated, "I'm not opposed to gay marriage." When they all turned to look at me, I continued by stating, "I'm opposed to all marriage." And humor can be helpful. Like, my hand still hurts from surgery, and the guys will see me with a pain face in the gym doing rehab, and they'll say, "Hey, how's the hand doing?" I'll reply, "It still fucking hurts, but I'm no stranger to pain. I've been married. Twice." They totally get it. What I'm hoping is that if any of these guys do get divorced, they won't make the marriage mistake again. Or maybe the single guys will avoid it in the first place. I honestly feel bad for most of the married men I know. They have absolutely no time for themselves at all. They work all day and then go home to work even more. Most of them are sleep deprived and constantly stressed out. Occasionally I feel a twinge of guilt about that because I don't have any of those hassles. And then I remember I paid my fucking dues. I deserve having the peace in my life that I now have. And the freedom. and the financial well-being, and the autonomy, and the career options, and the personal growth, and the lack of stress, and mostly the ability to run my own life. I can't even remember the last time a woman nagged me because I stopped letting them do that a long time ago. And that's the thing, most of the shit women pull, men volunteer for. If there's one thing that MGTOW all have in common, despite our differences, it's that we don't volunteer for any of that. Even the guys that still date. If a chick pulls that manipulation or nagging shit, he's probably gone, without hesitation. And I'll bet this is leaving a lot of women confused, wondering what happened to their power. Well, ladies, you actually don't have any power unless men give it to you. And if you're trying to figure out what the fuck just happened when a guy walks away from you without even looking back, chances are you just crossed paths with a MGTOW. Welcome to the future, screeching harpies. Cat food's on aisle 6. It should be remembered that men didn't change the rules of engagement regarding male-female relationships. Women did. So when the rules say something like, "You're not allowed to score a point unless I let you, but I can score whenever I want," guys are going to say, "Fuck that game." It boggles the mind to think that women didn't see this coming. I mean, yeah, men have put up with a lot of shit in recent decades, but did women actually believe there were no limits at all? Even children know there are limits to how far you can push a person. So now, and just speaking for me, I don't give them the opportunity to push me an inch. I don't avoid interacting with women at all costs, but I've developed my own rules of engagement. I'm in a running club, for example, and have some friends there. Half the members are women, and basically we only get together to train, race, or do the occasional cookout. It's really a great group of people, and I enjoy being a part of it. And of course, I interact with women there as much as men. However, if a woman suggests we do something together outside the group, I politely decline. And if that thing happens where a woman is sending signals that she wants me to ask her out, I simply don't do it. So basically, the women in this group know that I'm not married, but they also know I'm not available. And this is because I'm not willing to give them any power or let them have any influence in my life. There's a reason for that, and the reason is because I know she would benefit more than I would, and at my expense. So now that I think about it, I really just generally keep women in the category of acquaintances rather than friends. It's much simpler and safer that way. Besides, men usually make better friends anyway. I don't have very high social needs, but there are a handful of men I consider brothers, and to me that's far more significant than any kind of relationship I've ever had with women. None of my brothers have ever turned on me like a rabid dog, but many women have. Any kind of a relationship you have with a woman comes with strings attached, in my experience. They all want something, and for the most part, they only enter into friendships with men for selfish purposes. That's exactly what the friend zone is about. Women have figured out that they can benefit from associating with men even if they don't have sex with them. And again, this is entirely optional. It's something men have to volunteer for. I think that in most cases, a woman's appearance has a major effect on any interaction that takes place. People treat attractive people differently than they treat regular people, and this is especially true when you're talking about a man dealing with a hot chick. They figure they have an edge, but that's only true if you give it to them. So it's a useful skill to be able to ignore her appearance and consider what kind of a person she actually is. If she doesn't have any qualities besides being pretty, that's someone to avoid, in my mind. Unless, of course, you're in pump and dump mode and understand how to take precautions. A lot of pretty women don't bother developing qualities like selflessness, generosity, compassion, or a work ethic because they don't have to. To quote a friend of mine, such women are good for fucking and good for nothing. Of course, all that's easier said than done when a woman has done everything she can to be as alluring as possible. but it's a skill that can be developed. When a woman triggers your base instincts to breed, you can choose how to react. That's probably more difficult for the younger guys, but it's still doable. What works for me is to ask myself whether or not she contributes anything to the world besides being eye candy. If not, then my rules of engagement tell me not to even engage in conversation with her, because there's no point. Another thing I find useful is to think it through. Even if I did fuck her, then what would happen? And you know as well as I do that in this case, in her mind, you're going to owe her big time. And one way or another, she's probably going to try to collect. I realize that some men decide to avoid women altogether, and I get it. But I haven't found that necessary as long as I follow my own rules. If a group is going running or climbing or whatever, I don't feel I need to skip it because there are women present. If they ever attempt to cross my boundaries, it's a simple matter to gently let them know that they're barking up the wrong tree. If they push the issue, maybe I let them know a little less gently. As the lyricist Neil Peart put it, one must put up barriers to keep oneself intact. Go your own way, gentlemen, whatever way that happens to be. You can do pretty much whatever you want under the banner of MGTOW. Simply reclaiming your life exempts you from the crap most men are currently putting up with. And if you develop your own rules of engagement, you'll know what to do in potentially sketchy situations. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.